I guess I should start this off by saying I have never played a Dynasty Warriors game before this. Even as a Legend of Zelda fan, I found that during the initial reveal of Hyrule Warriors, named not final, I wasn't all that interested. It wasn't until the E3 Treehouse live streams when this happened that the game suddenly had my undivided attention. I'm gonna be blunt. I think the best way to classify this game is as weaponized fan service. Its mindless moments are made to resonate within the Legend of Zelda fans, and I love nearly every single second of it. The gameplay. You are able to choose either Link or currently one of 15 other characters to be Hyrule's one-man army and put on a field full of enemies to cut through them. There is a bit more to it than that. I was actually surprised that it wasn't just all mindless hacking and slashing, as there is also a bit of management there as well. You have to manage defending your keeps, capturing the enemy's keeps and outposts, eventually getting to an enemy commander and beating them, or a boss battle. There is the odd other objective, such as capturing specific keeps to weaken the enemy army, or making sure that you beat a specific unit so that reinforcements don't come. Occasionally you can search out for Skulltulas when they appear on the field by fulfilling certain conditions. The first one is normally defeating 1,000 enemies. You then have to manage it with everything else that's going on, as they will flee if you take too long. Battles become easier as you level up and become stronger. There are 13 different maps. Even while playing the same map on a different level, there's a bit of variety, as the game can start you off on a different spot, and access to certain areas can be closed off until later in the battle. More variety comes from the characters you can play as and the weapons that they use. There's currently 16 characters and a total of 23 different weapons between them before DLC. Each of these weapons has 2 stronger levels available, which has to be unlocked. While there is some characters like Link and Lana who have multiple different weapons, other characters such as Ruto and Darunia only have one type of weapon. You are able to quickly level up other characters by paying rupees, and then are able to easily get to the same level as your highest character, assuming you have enough rupees. Of course, the higher the level, the more rupees you need. The various characters can also be upgraded with enemy drops. You get upgrades for things such as more combos, the ability to capture the keeps faster, more healing potions, hearts recovering more health, and other things. There will be items that you quickly find yourself having the max of 99 of, and then those that you will have to struggle and repeatedly fight against bosses and commanders to get. When you're looking for a specific item, it starts to get a bit tedious. The main modes are Legend Mode, where you go through the game's story, and then there's Adventure Mode, where you fight various battles on the Legend of Zelda NES map, slowly expanding the area and using items to explore and uncover new rewards, mainly new weapons. Although there are heart pieces and a heart container as rewards too. These battles can be across full maps or a small area. These maps also have a few gimmicks, such as a series of challenges where you are able to knock out any enemy in one hit, but you will be just as easily knocked out. There are also other things, such as a quiz requiring you to beat certain enemies, or maps that force you to use a certain character or weapon, or where you have to beat a certain number of enemies within the time limit. It changes things up and keeps it varied. I wasn't finding the challenges all that repetitive. Also, there's Little Minnie imprisoned, and they are just so cute. Who's a little cute source of all evil? You are. You are. There is also a 2-player mode available. The second player is able to play on the gamepad, while the first player uses a TV. I mostly ignored it. It's there, though I wouldn't recommend it. It drops the frame rate, and I'm pretty sure it reduces the amount of people on the screen. It's still playable, but not preferable. I was previously told that people don't play the Dynasty Warriors games for the plot. I can see why. This plot is practically fan fiction. Sia watches over the Triforce, its struggles, and the battles that have been waged for it, but is never allowed to interfere herself because reasons. She is corrupted by evil and then attacks Hyrule. I thought the worst part of the plot, though, was probably the forced power of friendship and "we're a team" message. After getting the Master Sword, allegedly Link grows arrogant and charges into battle alone, so essentially he is just doing what he was doing the whole game, only now it was noticeable for some reason. It just comes across as completely cringeworthy, especially since that was his first action in the game, rushing into battle even though he was a trainee. It's also annoying because you're playing as the one-man or woman army because everyone else is freaking incompetent. They allegedly do stuff, as there are enemies that have some of their health bar chipped away, and the occasional notice that they have beaten someone, but it quickly becomes clear that the forces of Hyrule are incredibly lazy, and it's no wonder how Ganondorf has been able to conquer Hyrule countless times before. On that note, you get to play as Ganondorf conquering Hyrule, and it is absolutely awesome. Just finally being able to play as Ganondorf is wonderful. He brutally tears through enemies. He is this large, imposing force like you'd imagine him being. He actually uses a sword and magic, unlike some other game. Oh wait, I'm sorry, small correction. He uses 2 swords. Just playing as him was a complete and total joy. But I can't say the game is without flaws. While the game is incredibly repetitive, I only found myself noticing it during the boss battles, as there are only 6 giant bosses. 3 of those bosses, King Dodongo, Goma, and Manhandla, are used excessively. There's also Agrok and the Imprisoned, but I thought that they were used far less. Personally, I wish that there could have been more bosses like Aquamentus, Gleelok, Moldorm. I wish there was just more variety that didn't make me dread every single time King Dodongo, Goma, or Manhandla appeared. It's just that every time they show up, they're beaten in the exact same way. They are a time sink, taking anywhere between 30 seconds if you have a fully stocked focus gauge and some special attacks ready, to 3 minutes depending on how often they decide to use the attack that exposes their weak point. And at least 3 of them love to show up in the beat X amount of enemies in 10-minute stages, and you can't really escape from them because they will chase you to the ends of Hyrule. You also have to beat the bosses and commanders repeatedly in order to farm the various drops that they have for upgrades. Your allies are still really incompetent, and it never feels like they do stuff. There is the odd little notification, but in that time you've easily done 20 other things, and probably saved them a few times too. There are several attacks that are probably too cinematic. They look great the first few times you see them, but after a few hours of playing, I just get tired of them. Most other things I had problems with were minor. I was disappointed in having to wait until a patch for Sia, Volga, and Wizro to be playable. I just thought that they would be unlockable in adventure mode. Before I played, I was disappointed in only having the main characters drawn from Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. After playing it, it made a bit more sense, but I'm still disappointed and still would have liked other characters from other games in the series, such as Ralph, General Onyx, or Vaati. Or for completely obscure and technically not even a part of the Zelda series, and really just as being a cameo in a single game, Prince Richard as a playable character. He could be like Agatha, only with frogs. This game surprised me. It really came out of nowhere and caught me off guard. Even when Smash Bros. On the 3DS came out, I kept returning to Hyrule Warriors. I want more of it. I want the rest of the DLC. I want another game with more stuff. I just loved going into a bunch of enemies and slaughtering them as Link, Ganondorf, Impa, or anyone else. I love the fan service, although admittedly there wasn't a whole lot of big moments like the moon from Majora's Mask. The plot was harmless for the most part, except for that stupid power of friendship moment. I can understand that it's not for everyone and why people say there is little variety. Once again, I only really noticed on the boss battles. I personally think that this is one of the best games on the Wii U and shouldn't be overlooked. It's a contender for my Game of the Year, although it will have some hard competition over the next few weeks. Now, what do I have to do to get a Fire Emblem Dynasty Warriors?